Well folks, it's been a minute since we checked out Beyond the Wire, and that's for good reason. Ultimately, the game has released with a limited package of 3 factions and 3 maps, and when it first released, we knew that it was going to be a while for this game to flourish into something bigger, something better, and ultimately something that more people will enjoy. We've seen it before in the past where a vast majority of the player base of games like Squad and Postscriptum both waited for those games to mature a bit more, and in fact, the overwhelmingly large active player base on Squad only accumulated quite recently, and that was down to the fact that a lot of people were just waiting for release before they dipped their toes in. And the same will apply here in Beyond the Wire. There will be a lot of people who are unwilling to play the game until it's further polished, optimized, and has improved generally speaking. And that's something that's quite important and something that we thought we'd probably see. And finally, we have something to look forward to. Beyond the Wire has released a living roadmap, and the reason it's called a living roadmap is because it's an initial idea and things may update and change over time. Naturally, at the moment, due to the ongoing issues in the world and the fact that these things can just take a lot of time, setting concrete dates is something a lot of development studios are avoiding, whether that's Cyberpunk 2077, Battlefield, or any other development studio. At the moment, giving a date likely leads to disappointment, as we've seen in Squad, with OWI pushing most of their roadmap back due to some limitations that they found. But we do have some preliminary dates for things that are coming, and we have at least 3 new things to look forward to, or should I say 3 new operations or updates that are major and important that will improve the life of the game. The first is allegedly releasing this December in 2020, which will have the Battle of Kantigi, and will also feature an optimization pass, existing map optimizations, user interface optimizations, and bug fixing, which is something that I guess a lot of people are really looking forward to, as ultimately this is one of those places where optimization is pretty key and a lot of weaker machines are unable to play the game. The final months of the year, it reads, so you will see players at the Battle of Kantigi, the first assault of the AEF, which featured a combined effort with the French Republic. An upcoming dev blog and upcoming live stream will detail the map itself, but there's an initial image here that you guys can see. This appears to be a much more detailed map with a large central structure, which is something to look forward to. And there'll also be a training range coming, which is very, very exciting. Naturally, optimization is pretty important too, and I think this will tide the game over quite nicely to the end of 2020. In Q1 2021, which can be more or less anywhere between sort of January to May, January to April, give or take. It depends how quickly they're planning on getting things out. We're going to have the For King and Country operation, and this will feature the British Expeditionary Forces, as well as the Harlem Hellfighters, which of course are a regiment within the US Army that mostly consisted of black soldiers at the time. We also have 3 new maps, Sentieri and Chiat. We also have Holocape. I really don't know how to pronounce any of these. They're going to be on the screen. I ultimately didn't do very well at French in school, but hey ho. They are 3 new maps, all French by the looks of things, or all within French regions, which is something very much to look forward to. Operation 2 also is the first sub-faction of the game, meaning that the Harlem Hellfighters will be a sub-faction of the American faction, of course, which is very interesting, and of course they served alongside the French army. This will also have the future installments of new weaponry, new maps, and obviously most likely optimization passes again, and then an unspecified date new operation comes in, which has new maps, new factions, and a new game mode. But there are at least, at the bare minimum, by Q1 2021, 1 new map in December 2020, as well as the introduction of a shooting range, 2 new factions in Q1 2021, and 3 new maps, so lots to look forward to in the life cycle so far. Now, while this roadmap may seem in some places to you guys a little bit, dull, or perhaps a little bit limited in terms of scope and scale, it's worth remembering that Beyond the Wire is launching on a codebase which is already relatively sound. Now, for example, in Hell Let Loose, I've recently been talking about Update 8, where the game is introducing a bullet penetration system, as well as, transport vehicles and that kind of thing, and major improvements to the game and the engine of the game, generally speaking. But ultimately, Hell Let Loose needs those things, whereas, Beyond the Wire has a full audio, ballistic, and visual system, which is already very top tier, and they aren't reliant on those things or reliant on changing or improving those things. Ultimately, it's really mostly about changing their user interface and bug quashing. The code base of the game is very sound, so there doesn't need to be a huge amount of focus and emphasis on upgrading or improving the engine in the roadmap, which is a good thing because traditionally those are the things that take longer, and those are the things that can hold back development of content. So although there is a fair amount of content here, we're talking 4 new maps, 2 new factions, technically 1 new faction and a sub-faction, as well as more coming in the next operation, which they haven't specified a time or date for. It's likely that the first half of 2021 is going to be very exciting for this game, and because it is again operating on a sound code base, we'd like to hope and think that most of these timelines are very realistic for what they can achieve within this period. Ultimately, guys, that's about it for it so far. The reason I wanted to hone back in is just to talk about this roadmap. I personally have been waiting for something to look forward to, and finally we have it in the living roadmap. There's a link to the blog post in the description below if you want to check out more, but really good stuff here. A brand new map, the introduction of a shooting range I feel is actually quite important, and the ability to have a faction and a sub-faction come in with 3 new maps in the first half of 2021, and then more operations to come is going to be very, very exciting. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a sub, and I'll catch you again in another video.